Okay, a lot of y'all have been talking about this whole Mount Rushmore thing with a lot of different subjects. I've seen it for basketball players, music artists, and even comic book characters. By the way, if any of you leave off Wonder Woman, you're just objectively wrong. By far, the most interesting one to me, though, is the Disney Channel Mount Rushmore discussions I've been seeing on social media. A bunch of accounts, including Complex, released their picks for the Disney Channel Mount Rushmore, and it led to some polarizing discussions, to say the least. I've seen a lot of y'all's takes. Some are good, some are absolutely horrible, and I decided that it's time that I tap in and make my own video on the matter. I think I am one of the few people on the site that could give a definitive and fair take on this subject with personal bias completely put to the side. We're going to be as objective as possible using actual stats to back up the claims being made, because ultimately that's just how it should be done. I already broke down the Disney Channel multiverse. This is going to be cake. So join me, Mr. Nostalgia, as I choose 4 actors from Disney Channel's history to be in the definitive Disney Channel Mount Rushmore. And yes, before you ask, if this does well, I'll do a Nickelodeon one. All right, let's lay down a couple guidelines and rules to kind of show y'all what my thought process is. Number 1, we are only going off of Disney Channel careers. I love me some Disney XD, but we're not talking about that. We also aren't talking about Canadian shows, because Canadian shows are not Disney Channel shows. I apologize if this ticks off the Life of Derek community. Just kidding, I don't care at all, not gonna lie. Number 2, we will be going off of mainly longevity and impact, especially that latter one. Impact is important because if we were just simply going off of how many Disney Channel projects an actor appeared in, then like Jason Dolley is the Michael Jordan of Disney Channel and would probably be on this Mount Rushmore. Spoiler alert, he's not. And a lot of that is due to the fact that although he was in a lot of projects, appearing in at least one for 8 years straight, he was only really the lead for 2 of them, neither of which were all that huge. I wouldn't value, say, Jason Dolley's 4 Disney Channel original movies over Ross Lynch's 2, because at the end of the day, Ross was the main lead of 2 of the biggest Disney Channel movies of all time. Number 3, I will be breaking this up into 3 tiers: no consideration, light consideration, and heavy consideration. No consideration means exactly what it sounds like. Light consideration means, although I don't think they deserve it over other people, their careers still need to be acknowledged and at the very least in the conversation. And then the last one means that everyone in that tier, in my opinion, has a legitimate argument, 4 of which will end up in the Mount Rushmore. Surely, the comment section will be civil and agreeable. Nah, who am I kidding? This is YouTube. All right, man, let's get into it, starting with the no consideration tier. For this video, I actually did take the time to make an actual tier list using more or less every Disney Channel star, one that I plan on showing on screen, because there's no way I'm going to spend time talking about all 67 people in this tier. But to get us started, I'm going to talk about the people I didn't even hesitate to rule out. This would be people who might have been on a show, even a popular one, for a few years, but never really did much meaningful stuff outside of it. For example, everyone in Hannah Montana, not named Miley or Mitchell Musso, is in this tier. There's no conversation to be had with Jason Earls, Billy Ray, or Emily Osment. Though I do like her on Young Sheldon and its spinoff. Also, I just heard she broke up with her husband, so... Anyway, the entire cast of Austin and Ally, minus Ross Lynch, of course, would also be in this tier. I know Laura Marano had bad hair day, but like, tell me your character's name in that movie. Yeah, that's what I thought. It's Monica, apparently. Monica? Really? She does not look like a Monica. No one in Sunny with a Chance, aside from obviously Demi, is in this conversation. Most of them went on to appear in other Disney Channel stuff, but nothing big enough to make me change my mind. I've also ruled out majority of the newer stars, not because I'm on some old show's good, new show's bad type of energy like some of y'all, but like even some of the more popular modern stars out there, thanks to it being the social media era where cable just wasn't as popular, you know, there was realistically no way they'd be able to catch up to some of the older stars. So that's basically ruling out everyone from shows like Andy Mack, Bizarre Varg, and stuck in the middle, which is funny because, at least in the case of Olivia Rodrigo, Ariana Greenblatt, and Jenna Ortega, some of the people on those shows are likely going to go down as some of the most successful people to have their start on Disney. But at the same time, their careers on Disney, although being on shows that people obviously like, isn't on the same tier as some of the stars from the network's history. The same actually applies to Sabrina Carpenter, who is currently one of the biggest music stars in the world and has been for a couple years, but she wasn't doing anything close to this while actually on the network, obviously. And needless to say, the rest of the Girl Meets World cast is also in this tier. Some of these actually did require a little thought though. I wasn't thrilled about putting Kyla Pratt in here, but realistically, her Disney career outside of Proud Family doesn't really exist. And yeah, Proud Family is a very iconic series for Disney, even has a movie and a revival series, but at the same time, it's kind of hard for me to put her in the conversation to be one of the faces of Disney if we don't see her face. Besides, Kyla realistically doesn't even need this. She was one of the biggest young stars of the 2000s and had a great career even outside of Disney, so it's not a big deal. We love Kyla Pratt over here. We also love China McClain, and as talented as she is, I don't really think she's in the conversation, even when you factor in the Descendants movies. She was in Ant Farm, obviously, and while I do like that show, it was never really one of the heavy hitters on Disney. It kind of just, came in and went. Plus that weird season 3 kind of killed the show, in my opinion. She did give us some bangers though, I can't lie, but it's not enough. Sorry, China. I didn't take any pleasure in omitting Corbin Bleu either. I thought about it for a while, and as iconic as High School Musical is, he never received higher than 5th billing on any of them, which is kind of surprising to me because, why is this dude over him? I don't quite get that. Of course, he had Jump In, which was a very big, but that's kind of it. Aside from some guest spots here and there. Same applies to Vanessa Hudgens, unfortunately. She's pretty iconic, but objectively, I don't think her career on Disney was on par with some of the others from the network. Some of these might be on the controversial side, I know. I just couldn't do it. The only other one worth talking about is Bella Thorne. Her Disney career mainly consists of Shake It Up and Frenemies, and I went back and forth with this one for a while. I feel like she's extremely well known in the context of Disney stars, but Shake It Up was closer to being Ant Farm than it was Good Luck Charlie while it was airing on the network. I don't think the show was ever one of, the big dogs on the channel. I think if she was the lead in a more popular show, maybe even movie, she could be in that second tier, but I personally can't do it. Had an okay music career. She did give us Watch Me, which is a banger, but in the bigger picture of narrowing this list down to 4 people, I don't think her name needs to be brought up much, if at all. Though she isn't about Rushmore of Disney commercials, that's for sure. There's also Phil Lewis, who is kind of a legend, if we're being real. However, there's just no real reason to include him in this conversation. Mr. Mosby is super iconic though, so because of that, my guy does get his own tier. The full tier is on the screen. I think for the most part, people would agree with me on this. The most controversial ones would probably be Bella and a couple of the High School Musical stars, I feel. But I think this is a really solid tier. I explained my choices pretty well. Hopefully you guys won't feel too harshly about it. On to the next one. Okay, so now this is where things get really interesting. I can truly dive into people's Disney Channel careers. This tier is for the ones that I think should definitely be in the conversation for a Mount Rushmore slot, but ultimately not over the people that I think have the absolute best cases. This was definitely the hardest part of the video, to be honest with you, because there are some pretty big names in here, some of which might surprise you. And if it wasn't for the fact that Disney's got some people with pretty impressive resumes, they'd probably be in that final tier of consideration, but the talent pool is just too deep. Anyway, to get us started, I don't think it's crazy to say that the Jonas Brothers have to at least be looked at, right? Specifically Nick and Joe, because Kevin wasn't really as prominent thanks to him being like 40 when he was on the channel. On the resume, we have their show with Jonas, plus the 2 Camp Rock films, which I gotta say are definitely doing the heavy lifting. Their show wasn't super popular back in the day and only lasted 2 seasons. If their show was able to match the same success as some of the others on the channel around that time, I think they'd have a stronger case. But Jonas, or Jonas LA, whatever you want to call it, wasn't a super successful show. Still, the Camp Rock movies are some of Disney's biggest of all time, and their music career, although not originating with Disney per se, does have some pretty strong ties to the network.
Another thing that stops them from being in the convo is the fact that there is 3 of them, and that's kind of cheating. So yeah. Another person I briefly considered was Mitchell Musso. Even taking away Parrot Kings, he has a really solid career with the channel. We got Hannah Montana the movie, Life is Rough, Hashing Pete, and Prank Stars. Not to mention he was in 82 episodes of Phineas and Ferb. He's also one of the few male Disney stars with a music career, releasing an album in 2008 with notable songs like Shout It and Hey, which actually charted in the Billboard Top 100 at number 70. Mitchell Musso was kind of the man back then, I'm not gonna lie. Aside from the Sprouse twins, I don't think it's crazy to say that he was Disney's most prominent male star and truly a household name amongst kids. Conversations can be had about him being in the Mount Rushmore, but I don't think they'd get too far. He's undoubtedly a Hall of Famer. I'd even say, first ballot, but unfortunately, I just don't think he's in that final tier. Shout out Mitchell Musso, bruh. Stay out of prison, big bro. I already kind of spoke about Jason Dolly in the opener. I even showed his resume, so I'm not going to bother coming up with a new graphic for it. But great career on Disney, was rarely the leading man, and there are just way more impactful and iconic careers than him. Again, shout out Jason, though. Christy Carlson Romano, I know, she's not my favorite person either, and clearly I'm not hers, but I'll save that for another time. Regardless of her obvious shortcomings and issues on the internet, you can't just ignore her pretty legendary career on Disney, especially since she won't let anyone forget it. She simultaneously voiced Kim Possible while also playing the sister on Even Stevens, Ren. Not only did she appear in both of those shows, but she also appeared in their movies as well, with Kim Possible having 2 and Even Stevens having 1. And to top all of this off, she was in the Disney Channel original movie, Cadet Kelly. When you look at her resume, it is full of nothing but hits. Banger after banger after banger. Kim Possible to this day is one of Disney's biggest animated shows. The only show I would put above it in terms of longevity and impact is Phineas and Ferb. Even Stevens was one of Disney's first hit shows, still remaining a classic to this day, and Cadet Kelly was really popular as well. Despite her great career on the network though, I feel like the thing holding her back is that Disney just didn't push her as much as Hilary Duff or Raven. I think part of it too is that her most iconic role on the network is a voice role, so her face wasn't really being shown. As a result, it's hard for me to put her on this Mount Rushmore, but she definitely deserved some consideration. Funny enough, now that I'm talking about her, I just realized that the tier list I used to make this video did not include Shia LaBeouf at all. I don't know why they forgot. Well, I can come up with a couple reasons why they didn't put him on there, but I'd probably throw him in this tier as well. Obviously, he was one of the faces of Disney at one point, and I think if this was a male-only list, he certainly have a really good shot at being on the Mount Rushmore. Even Stevens, plus this movie and True Confessions, is a pretty good lineup, and while he did go on to have one of the best careers of anyone who's ever started on Disney, there was a decent amount of people who had longer and more fruitful careers on the channel. I mean, after all, he was only really on Disney for, 3 years. Being the face of Disney Channel's most iconic original movie franchise, one that even made its way to theaters, Zac Efron's name, I think, needs to at least be brought up. I know I ruled out some of the other members of High School Musical, but at the end of the day, Zac was the main guy in the franchise. But ultimately, not being a regular on a series really does hurt his chances at getting in my opinion. This is a little off topic, but I've been meaning to share this for a while. Zac Efron used to have crazy art back in the day. Like, dude, I remember when I saw High School Musical 3 in theaters, and when that first shot of the movie pops up with Zac Efron looking up into the camera, every single girl in that theater screamed at the top of their lungs. Now, mind you, I wasn't expecting that to happen. I didn't know what was going on, bro. I thought they was airing out the place or something. Did this happen at anyone else's theater, bro? Y'all gotta let me know in the comments. Because, to this day, I've never experienced anything like that. Okay, now, this is where things start to get really hard. And if I haven't made you mad yet, it'll probably happen within these next few picks. Dove Cameron has a crazy Disney Channel career that lasted about 6 years. Liv and Maddie, Cloud9, Descendants 1, 2, and 3, and a little spin-off show that I got, I guess. Let's break this down though. Liv and Maddie is one of the few Disney Channel shows that actually get 4 seasons, which in itself is a pretty crazy feat. But those Descendants movies though were huge. I wasn't even watching Disney then, and even I knew how big they were. I mean, bruh, the franchise is still going. That should tell you everything. They got Brandy up in there now. They go crazy. I think that Dove Cameron truly has one of the best Disney resumes of all time. The only thing stopping her from being in that final tier is that she just came too late. A lot of the things that she did were done by other people in that final tier. If she came before or even around the same time as those other people, she would probably be in the Mount Rushmore, at least in heavy consideration. But it's really hard for me to put her in there over some of the others. She's got a great case though, don't get it twisted. Another hard one is Bridget Mendler. Good Luck Charlie, the movie, plus Lemonade Mouth is a really solid resume. It's not as lengthy as Dove's, but Good Luck Charlie at one point was just one of the most popular sitcoms on TV in general, not just amongst kids. Plus, Lemonade Mouth was a hit, though it never got the chance to branch off into a franchise like Descendants did. Ross Lynch was once upon a time Disney's golden boy. He was in commercials, they used his music for promos. He was even in the Muppets movie for some reason. I think I saw this one in theaters. It was kind of mid though. Anyway, I'd argue for male actors, he has a legit argument for the Mount Rushmore. Austin and Ally was a huge hit, as was the Teen Beach franchise. I got videos on those too, check them out. I'm not counting this towards his resume, but he was also in the very, very short-lived and obscure Disney XD series Moises Rules that I completely forgot about. Ross's career on Disney wasn't super long lasting, but the 3 projects he was a lead in are some of Disney's most popular of all time. He really was the face of the channel for a bit. Shout out Ross though. Debbie Ryan is another one. Stacked Disney career, man. 3 seasons of On Deck, 4 seasons of Jessie, plus a Sweet Life movie, 16 Wishes, and Radio Rebel. And someone gonna be in my comments like, but you said you weren't gonna do any Canadian stuff. And while it is true that these movies are kinda Canadian, hence why they are on Disney Plus, y'all would have been so mad if I didn't include it, so whatever. Debbie's career is kinda crazy because she was part of the Hannah Montana and Wizards generation, but then also somehow managed to last long enough to win this stuff like Casey Undercover and Descendants. Isn't that nuts? Anyway, On Deck, and to an even larger extent, Jessie are some of Disney's biggest shows, the latter of which ended up expanding into a franchise that only just ended last year. You have to at least think about her when doing this Mount Rushmore, but those thoughts won't last too long. I don't think she deserves over anyone who actually is in that final tier. And I mean, once you see who was there, I think you'd agree with me too. These last 3 are rough, boy, I tell you. I'm gonna do a couple of these at the same time, actually, since they're connected in a way. Brenda Song and Ashley Tisdale are 2 names that I see brought up a lot in this discussion, and I can totally understand why. They do have pretty stacked careers. Ashley Tisdale has Sweet Life, the High School Musical trilogy. What? Ashley Tisdale has Sweet Life, the High School Musical trilogy, plus her little spin-off thing. And of course, Phineas and Ferb and its movies. Having Zach and Cody, High School Musical, and Phineas and Ferb under your belt is nuts. Brenda, on the other hand, has both Sweet Life shows, its movie, plus like 5 Disney Channel original movies. Apparently she was even a co-producer on Wendy Wu, which is nuts. Oh, I almost forgot. She returned to Disney years later to voice Anne in Amphibia. She truly has one of the best Disney Channel careers of all time. But the problem with both her and Ashley is that for the most part, they weren't lead characters. Now again, I know Ashley had that Sharpay spinoff, and Brenda did have Wendy Wu and Amphibia, but neither of those are enough for me to put them in that final tier, unfortunately. I personally don't see how they could be one of the faces of Disney Channel if they were rarely ever the faces of the most popular things that they were in. And obviously I really like both more than some of the other people that are actually on that list, but I just can't personally do it. I know people are going to disagree with me for that one, and that's fine, I get it, but I'm standing by what I said. And then lastly, we got the one that a lot of people did have on their list. Some of y'all might kill me if you haven't already, but I don't think Zendaya belonged in that Mount Rushmore. Like, we can certainly take a look at her career. Matter of fact, let's do it right now. Let's split it up. We got Shake It Up, Casey Undercover, Frenemies, and Zapped. It's obviously not a bad career at all. She was even a producer on Casey Undercover. She obviously made quite a career for herself post-Disney and is truly an A-list celebrity. She no doubt is one of the most successful people to start her career on Disney, and even her career on the channel was pretty good. Was it really top tier though? I'm talking like top 4 level tier? Because if we being real, Casey Undercover is doing a lot of carrying. While she was on Shaken Up, We gotta be realistic here. I mentioned this earlier, but that show was never really one of Disney's like heavy hitters. Casey Undercover was definitely a hit though. I got no notes at all. But I think the thing that's really lacking in her career on Disney was the fact that she never really had a hit movie. And do not come in my comments saying that Zapped or Frenemies were hits. She starred on some of the worst ones, bruh. I do think it should be a requirement to have at least one hit movie under your belt in order to be on the Mount Rushmore, and she just doesn't. Ultimately, this doesn't matter because Zendaya and her Disney career is nothing compared to the person that she is today. But yeah, I personally don't think that she should be on that Mount Rushmore. I'd rather put Dove Cameron up there, honestly. She has a better case than her. But alas, we finally made it. The very last tier of the video. If someone hasn't been brought up yet, then chances are they're either way too obscure or they're in this tier right here. So let's get into it. Hey, if you skipped through this part of the video, you're a jerk, by the way. Okay, so to get us started, I figured I'd waste no time and immediately start talking about the two people I already have on the thumbnail, who in my mind are just automatic locks. You cannot argue against these people. Raven-Symoné and Miley Cyrus. Both of them are truly some of the most talented and well-achieved young stars we have ever received in Hollywood. For Raven, we have That's So Raven, Raven's Home, Cheetah Girls 1 and 2, and Xenon 1 and 3. There's other stuff that she was in occasionally, but to mainly stick with the things she had a relatively big role in, that's the core six. Aside from a slight nod to her music career as well, not much else needs to be said about Raven. To this day, I think she's kind of the GOAT. When you combine her two shows, you have 10 seasons worth of her playing the same character, bro. That's insane. 2 generations, too. And then the Cheetah Girls were huge back in the day. They went on tour with each other. They weren't just a movie franchise. Not to mention that she's even directed stuff as well for some of the newer shows. Y'all know who Raven is, bro. I don't even have to continue talking about it. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. She deserves her spot. Miley Cyrus is another one. Totally deserves her spot. You cannot argue against this. Granted, her career on Disney just mainly only comes from Hannah Montana and this movie. Theatrical movie, mind you. But it doesn't even matter because Hannah Montana, I think to this day, is the most successful children's sitcom of all time. Since it's ended, we've seen plenty of other successful shows, but none of them have been able to match Hannah Montana. And a lot of that isn't just because the ratings for the show were insane. Hannah Montana also allowed Miley to release music pretty consistently, both attached to the show and unattached. And it's here where she'd be able to drop songs like The Climb and, of course, Party in the USA. Both bangers and both charting pretty high on the Billboard Top 100. I would say more, but I don't think I need to at this point. At one point in time, Miley was the face of one of Disney's biggest brands. She no doubt is a part of this Mount Rushmore. But then that leaves the question, who gets the other 2 slots? Well, I've narrowed it down to 4 choices. First of all, we have Demi Lovato, who for a while was one of the biggest faces on Disney. We got As the Bell Rings, Sunny with the Chance, Camp Rock 2, and Princess Protection Program. I mean, that's a pretty great catalog right there. The Camp Rock films plus Princess Protection Program are all in the top 10 most viewed Disney Channel original movies of all time. I think the weaker links in this resume, though, would be the 2 shows. Let's face it, no one really remembers As the Bell Rings, and Sunny with a Chance had a premature cancellation, so it was never really able to take off and become a true hit. Had the show stayed on, it would have no doubt become one of Disney's most iconic series. But the fact of the matter is, it unfortunately didn't. So even though Demi had a pretty solid Disney career, especially in the movie department, I feel like not having that one long-running iconic show does kind of make it one of the weaker ones of this tier. She's all a famer, don't get me wrong. First ballot too. But I just can't do it. I also think it doesn't help that while Demi was definitely part of Disney's big 3 for a while, she was totally the 3, the Chris Bosh, if you will. I love me some Chris Bosh. He actually appeared on Jesse, funny enough, but Chris Bosh is no LeBron or D Wade. That's just how it is. Tell you what though, La La Land went platinum in my house. I still play that actually. Since we just talked about Demi, we gotta bring up Selena. They were best friends. Key word being were. Apparently they beefing now, hate to see it. Wizards of Waverly Place, Wizards of Waverly Place the movie, The Wizards Return, Alex vs. Alex, Princess Protection Program. Not to mention that when she teamed up with The Scene, they were unstoppable. They were the 73-9 Warriors who ironically got stopped. But you get what I'm saying. Round and round. Who says? Year Without Rain. Love You Like a Love Song. There were some serious bangers. Naturally. Tell me something I don't know. Come on, man.
That's too easy.
Wizards was a really huge show too, consistently getting high ratings and actually having the most watched finale of any Disney series ever, which is impressive. She's another one that kind of just goes without saying. She totally belongs in this tier. Multiple hit movies, a hit show. Yeah, Selena's a real candidate for the Mount Rushmore. We also got Hilary Duff. Hilary Duff was arguably Disney's first success at creating a true teen star. Her Disney career consists of Lizzie McGuire, of course, the Lizzie McGuire movie, and Cadet Kelly. Duff managed to become one of the most popular young stars in the world. Lizzie McGuire was a huge show. You couldn't really escape Lizzie McGuire merchandise, whether it was through dolls, video games, or even Happy Meal toys at McDonald's. Not to mention that Hilary Duff's Disney music career was pretty successful. So successful that it resurrected Disney's at the time a dying label record, Hollywood Records. That same record company that would later sign Miley Cyrus, Selena Gomez, and many more artists. Matter of fact, it was Duff that made Disney realize that they could totally do the whole TV star to pop star thing successfully, thus giving successful careers to a lot of different people. Her impact on the network is bigger than almost anyone else's. We miss out on a lot of Disney Channel icons without Hilary Duff. But there's just one thing that makes these final decisions hard. Actually, two things. Two people, really. Cole and Dylan Sprouse. By getting their start in the smash hit Disney series Sweet Life of Zack and Cody in '05, the twin boys would go on to become two of the most prominent young stars, not just on the Disney Channel, but also in Hollywood, period. Even when you weren't watching Disney Channel, these dudes would pop up in commercials for Danimals or Pokemon games, or as they pronounced it,
Pokemon.
Their longevity on the channel was also pretty unheard of at the time. Not only were they on the network for 6 years, but they played the same two characters the whole time. The twins are without a doubt the most iconic male stars from the channel, and will always be household television names. But I only have 2 slots left. I can't include Selena, Hilary, and the Sprouse twins. So, what am I supposed to do here? Oh man, this is tough. This is tough, boy. Alright, look. Sweet Life was without a doubt the bigger show. The numbers for Lizzie McGuire do not compare to Sweet Life's numbers. It was just a different era. But at the same time, I feel like Sweet Life benefited from being after hits like Lizzie McGuire and That's So Raven. Disney was a much more established network by the time Sweet Life rolled around, whereas Lizzie McGuire basically started everything. Technically, even Stevens came like 6 months before it, but still. Well, Zack and Cody was the bigger franchise thanks to it obviously having 2 shows. I feel like Hilary Duff still means more to Disney than Cole and Dylan. Sweet Life wasn't as impactful as Lizzie McGuire, making Cole and Dylan not as impactful as Hilary Duff, meaning that the last 2 spots on this Mount Rushmore are going to Selena Gomez and Brandon Michael Smith from Sunny with the Jet. No, I'm playing. Hilary Duff. My Mount Rushmore is Raven Simone, Hilary Duff, Selena Gomez, and Miley Cyrus. I don't know, man. I think I kind of cooked with this one. I think I used good reasoning for all of my choices, and I'm really satisfied with the result. But I know for a fact that some of y'all won't be, so let me know in the comments below what you would change for this list. And also, let me know what your personal Mount Rushmore would be, just off of your favorite Disney stars. If I had to do one real quick, it would be like the mom from Waverly Place, the mom from Casey Undercover, the mom from Jessie, and Topanga from Girl Meets World. All right, bro, I'm missing nostalgia and I'm out for now, or whatever. Bye.
Topanga.
Stuart.
Topanga.